Spain won the World Cup. I can't act like I know much about soccer. I really don't. One of the difficulties I have for like uh, like sports gaming stuff is like I grew up with an affinity for the Knicks and the Mets. When it came to football, American football, I really didn't have any affinity for the Jets or the Giants. Like, it didn't really matter to me. And for hockey, I kind of had something for the Rangers, but not enough to really, like, understand the intricate nuances of the game. And forget about it for soccer. I don't even know where to fucking start, bro. Like, I'm an American, bro. I don't watch, like, what am I gonna, which Premier League do you like? Which Premier League team do you like the best? I don't fucking know. I literally don't know. So maybe that's what makes it difficult for me to get into soccer is, like, there's so many leagues. There's so many varying degrees of, it's almost like, so the NBA is unequivocally the best league for basketball. The EuroLeague is second, but there's a huge, gap in between. The NHL is clearly the best league for ice hockey. Some of the Russian leagues are very good, but they're not quite there. The NFL is obviously the only sport that gives a shit about. Well, they got the XFL UFL merger, which is basically just like, I guess, like, slightly better than college football levels of competition. And then you have, obviously, baseball. There's, college, they got the minor leagues, but the minor leagues are just feeders for the major leagues. So, like, in American sports, there's not really a second league that anyone gives a remote of a fuck about. And one of the things that hurt all of the UFC competitors is this is sort of an American mindset. We don't need a second league because the best are here. Any second league would basically be the minor leagues. This is the big leagues right here. So we don't really have all these, like, different fucking La Liga and fucking UEFA or whatever the fuck. Like, we have a league, and our players will play in the FIBA games, the basketball version of FIFA. Like, they'll play in that shit. Very simple. We'll do international competition, we'll play, and then we go back to our, but it's like you got the Spanish league, you got the motherfucking French league, and I suppose it makes sense for each country to have their own league, like the United States has the NBA, or I guess North America, because Canada, they've been so gracious to allow Canada to have a team. So I suppose each country is going to sort of have its own league, but it really doesn't align with what Europe has become in the last 30 years in the first place. I mean, like, Europe is essentially, it's like one unified country now. Even with the UK leaving the fucking EU, it's still basically part of the EU. They can't really escape that European system. They just can't. Like, they rely too much on trade, so it's like, they're not in the EU, but they're in the EU, you know what I mean? So it's like, having, like, and I know that's why they have, like, the European Championships and stuff to see which country's league, I guess, is the best. So, but that's not really a thing that happens in American sports. So for me, it's sort of like, I don't even know where to start with soccer. I could watch the MLS, but I know, according to the statistics, the MLS is the 9th best league, which means Americans aren't going to give a shit about it until it's like the 3rd or 2nd best league. That's just how Americans are. They don't like to watch second best. Strikeforce and Bellator for MMA, they were very reasonable MMA organizations. They booked good fights. They had star power. But Americans don't care about second best. Americans don't care about second best when it comes to sports. When it's something like, I don't know, pro wrestling, it's a little different because pro wrestling is fake and they know it. It's more like a theater play to them. It's like a preference. But when it comes to sports, Americans like to be the best. So, like, when it comes to soccer, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know who I would gain an affinity for. So it would basically just be me watching matches and trying to appreciate the sport, which is sort of what I've tried to do every time the World Cup happens. I try my best to watch it and appreciate the intricacies and find qualities of it that I could, wrap my brain around to see if I can adapt my mentality to the sport. And it, like, every time I get bored. I just do. Like, it's like, whenever Europeans are like, I don't watch baseball, it's too boring. I don't watch American football because it's too boring. The game's always stopping. And I'm like, bro, half the time for soccer, they're like gently they're like, and I'm not insulting their stamina, but what I'm saying is like most of the time they're just like walking the ball across the fucking the midfield line, and I'm just, like, very rarely are they engaging in scoring attempts. A lot of it is passing. A lot of it is, defensive player trying to make a play. Now, that could be interesting, I suppose, but with the way that they call the game and the way that the players flop, I feel like a lot of that anticipation sort of gets taken out more than it's actually successful, and I don't know if the balance is there for me to really care. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, sit there and, like, root for a team and then, like, he milks, like, slightly getting hit before the defender makes contact with the ball, and then they'll do like these violent neck jerks and then like fucking roll on the floor and then like hold their face for 45 seconds. And a lot of the times, if the ref doesn't call anything and they realize that the ref's not calling anything, they just get back up and just start jogging. And listen, I can't really blame the players for that. It's the referee's fault. It's the same thing in basketball with the flopping. It's the fucking ref's fault. It's the league's fault. Every fucking year in basketball, they're like, the refs, like, oh, they just travel. Oh, they do this. Oh, they do that. Like, the best players will be able to adapt. They always will. Like, are you kidding? Like, if they call traveling the right way, like, LeBron might average 4.5 turnovers instead of 3, but, like, he's still going to be, seismically better than just getting called for 1 extra travel every game. So, I don't know. I just, with soccer, I just, maybe it's because I don't know how to set up scoring in the same way that I do with baseball or basketball or even American football to a lesser extent. But I just don't enjoy it that much. Now, I did enjoy the England-Norway game. That was very, why that game was so enjoyable to me? Was I think Norway knew that they had the backing of the American people. And there was a lot of desperation in that game, I felt. Like, there was a lot of aggression. They were constantly trying to score. They would take risks. I feel like when I watch soccer, the risk reward isn't there. Like, teams are very content just to tie games and, like, take a tie. And I can't stand I can't stand the fact that a game can end on fucking field goal kicks. I just can't. Or not even just that, but like in regular season games, there should never be a fucking tie. Like, listen, if you have to do field goal kicks for the sake of a regular season, I understand it. But when you get to playoffs or the World Cup, bro, they should just keep playing. That's fucking ridiculous. It should never go to something like... I don't know if they do actually... I don't know if they've actually changed that. I was hoping to see today. But whenever I played the games, it would go to penalty kick after the 2 overtime 15 minutes is... So I hate that. I get it for the regular seasons and stuff, or even the rounds where they're just like scoring points, not the knockout rounds, the positioning rounds. I even get it for those, but when it comes down to like knockout rounds, they should never do penalty kicks. It should always just be you keep playing until somebody fucking wins. Like, how are you gonna diametrically change the nature of the game just because there's no time left, bro? Keep fucking going. I hate that shit. I hate ties. You know what ties are? Ties are the byproduct of fucking airing everything on television. That's what ties are. Ties are, well, we can't take up 4.5 hours of fucking TV time because, the boomers got to watch their nightly news on NBC, so we got to find a way to make the game shorter. That's what baseball's done. Baseball's ruined their fucking stats forever because in extra innings, they just magically put a ghost runner on second base. How do you even fucking take that into account? It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. I hate it. They're fucking ruining everything with this. Man, I don't even know how to say what I want to say because everyone's just going to think I'm like fucking making some sort of left-wing statement about capitalism. But is it just because the left has this irrational hatred of capitalism because they have this delusion of grandeur idea that communism and socialism would somehow be better for the planet when all it does is give these fucking megalomaniac psychopaths even more power. Like, they just don't understand that fucking dynamic. Or they do and they don't care. It doesn't matter. But that doesn't mean that there's not, like, something about capitalism that we can't, like, look at and examine and try to improve upon it. I seen this pattern way too much where something gets too popular and then it gets mainstreamified and then the quality just starts to drop. So what I'm saying with sports is a lot of times I feel like I get taken out of the rhythm of the game because the NBA needs to have a TV timeout at the 6-minute mark for 4.5 minutes. Then they need to have another TV timeout at the 2.5-minute mark for fucking 4.5 minutes. Then they got to spend 5.5 minutes in between quarters. You know why? To get more fucking commercials for the corporations that sponsor them. Even though most of the money that is made is from TV deals. So, like, it's just like that whole, like, let's just keep more and more and more. You know, like, I remember the issue of, like, watching Toonami and people were always upset that they didn't play, like, the full songs. You can't do that shit here in America, bro. It ain't like Japan where they have a fucking 90-second commercial at the start of the show and a 90-second commercial at the end and maybe a 90-second commercial in the middle. Nah, bro, we got 3.5-minute commercials every fucking 12 minutes. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's all fucking slop. They're all just selling us slop. And they're allowed to lie when they sell this shit, too. They could literally just use fucking sophistry and just lie about this shit. So they're allowed to do all this shit while we got to live honest lives. I don't know. It just feels like it leads itself to that. You know, and I was thinking about watching those 90s and 80s cartoons. What made them so good was that they were trying to make them for kids. So kids could enjoy the colorful characters, the comic book characters, and have these things to aspire to. And what they did was they wrote good shows so that the parents can watch it with the kids, and there would be some overarching adult theme. And I don't mean pornography. I mean, like, some sort of, crisis that the kids aren't really paying attention to, but the adults are. But what happened is that shit was good. And then they started to realize, actually, the kids just care about the colorful costumes and shit. We don't even need to have these fucking great stories anymore. All right, let's just, pay for cheaper writers and dumb it down because it doesn't really matter what the quality of the story is. And that's what it comes down to, is like, it doesn't matter what the quality of anything is, as long as people believe in the prestige of the name brand, or as long as people believe in these silly materialistic things that don't really have any intrinsic value other than the shit that we assign it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's something that happens with the quality of sports, because like it feels like there's a correlation to me though. It seems like around 2005-ish, I feel like a lot of people started to complain about the quality of sports. Well, let's look at the NBA. The NBA started to not allow hand checking. Now, if you don't know what hand checking is, if you've ever played pickup basketball, hand checking is, when you put a hand on the defender to try to balance yourself and to try to kind of push them off their spot. So the NBA basically, instead of, you used to be allowed to put a hand on a guy. So you couldn't put two hands. Two hands was an automatic foul. One hand was hand checking. They took that away. They took hand checking away, ironically, the year that LeBron came in the league. Now, I don't think LeBron would have been affected by hand checking because he's 6'8", 265 pounds. But it was definitely beneficial for someone like Allen Iverson to get rid of that. But yeah, so they took away they took away one of the core physical parts of basketball. The ability to hand check really made a difference when it came to the defense. It's so and now they got this new thing called freedom of movement, so you can't even put your body into an offensive player that's moving forward. So they just handicap defense. That's why you see the scores are the way that they are. So in around the mid 2000s, like, the NBA takes away hand checking, they hamper defenses, and now it's just offense. Nothing matters, no consequence. no 78 to 72 hard-nosed defensive games where guys are playing hard and diving on the floor and they got burn marks. And that's the type of basketball that I bet you people would love to watch, but it doesn't exist anymore. It's like Cirque du Soleil, like this sort of like power slam fucking, athletic endeavor instead of being a gritty, grimy competition. And then look at baseball. Baseball absolutely capitalized off of the steroid shit where everyone was crushing home runs and you had these great big personalities, and then they used them as a scapegoat to wash their hands of it. And then after that, their popularity starts to fall again. And then baseball, they juiced the baseballs in 2015 to 2019. So they used a new ball. They used a new manufacturer to make the ball. And this is what happened. You ready for this? In 2015, they set an all-time record for home runs hit that season. In 2016, they broke that record. In 2017, they broke that record. In 2018, they broke that record. And then they went back to the old way the balls were made. And guess what? They haven't broken the record. It's weird. So then who could forget the NFL, bro? The NFL might be the worst of them all. They took a game that everyone knew was violent and physical, and they loved it because of that. There's actual severe... It's about the consequences. It's about weighing the consequences versus the competitiveness. Because a 137 to 138 basketball game can still be competitive, but the consequences of that competition is very lessened if there's a handicap on the defense versus the offense. So when you have that good mix, you basically understand why the NFL became as popular as it did. It had an incredible mix, and then you add in the gambling element. Whew. That's another thing. These fucking gambling commercials are out of control, and it sort of extends to what I'm talking about. It's like just gambling commercials everywhere. Oh, but they put, if you have a gambling problem, call this number. Bro, we know anybody who's got a problem ain't calling shit, dude. That's not how it fucking works. So like they take advantage. They do these things to take advantage of. And then they make money and they claim it's for your benefit. It's for your benefit. Listen, it's your choice to gamble if you want to gamble, in my opinion. It's not to your benefit, though. Like, it's a gamble for a reason. You're banking on Lady Luck to get you out of something. But that's just what you're doing. You're banking on Lady Luck. It's not a guarantee, which means most people are going to lose. That's why it's a gamble. Like a high risk, high reward. You might hit the ball harder, but the little reticle to hit the fucking ball shrinks. You're really banking on your ability to fucking find a diamond in the rough. So they made football, they changed the rules. You can't lead with your helmet because, guys get paralyzed, the CTE stuff, the concussion stuff. But the only thing I can say that would be the NFL's duty, and maybe this is why they're doing what they're doing, is I would suppose there should be some sort of obligation, since it is a place of employment, to have some sort of pension for retired players and to take care of their medical issues. The NFL makes more than enough money. They can afford to do that. They literally can afford to do that so easily. Like, you don't understand how easily they can fucking afford that. But it's not their duty to, like, prevent and change their game because it leads to injuries. That's just the nature of the fucking game. And it's not the government's place. It's not business's place to just like say what, like, we're going to prevent this thing because we don't think people should be doing it. We don't think people should be making a choice. Like, they're going to strong arm their position to take away people's choices. They shouldn't have that fucking power. So they've in hockey, I guess hockey is one of them that they haven't quite gotten to yet, but they forced them to put helmets on. They're definitely trying to get them to fight less. They're trying their best to get them to fight less. But I guess hockey is, but when they had that 2005 lockout, I think they changed some of the rules a bit. They changed some of the rules to make it more offensive. They widened the goalie's, the goalie's goal, which is going to allow for more scores. That's something baseball did in the 60s, too, is they lowered, I think they lowered the mound or rose the mound? I don't remember what it was. I think they lowered it. So, the reason the pitchers pitch from the mound is because it gives them that elevation, which helps with their breaking pitches. Pitching was too good. So they changed the game to help the offense. But baseball's been around like 50 years before some of these other sports. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's like it seems like there's this like time duration for pieces of media or sports or whatever, and it seems like they get to a certain point in size, and then after it gets to that size, the quality really starts to get hurt. Now, is this just happenstance? Is it a coincidence? Is it the side effects of a non-vigilant population? Or is this just the cycle of the setup? You know, we always say socialism leads to communism because almost just about everywhere it's been done, it leads to communism, except for like those really niche, small, like European countries like Iceland or something where like everyone's fucking related or some shit. Like when you're dealing with family units, you can do communism because the bonds that bind you are bigger than, you know, it's bigger than life. You know, this is blood. We're the same blood. We're the same genetic line. You know, it makes sense to be about committee and community when you're dealing with the family unit. But as you know, but usually always leads to socialism. Usually always leads to communism, of course, because it's a co-opt system that's not really meant to actually work. It's meant to convince the serf population to give up their rights for the government's protection, which is why they let out the criminals to act as an enforcement ring, be the problem and the solution. So, like, we know that that's the relationship that socialism and communism have. So is it fair to say that capitalism has perhaps a relationship with another side of that coin that eventually leads to intense, almost strong-arming levels of monopolization by a couple of companies that basically leverage their power against the government? Because, I mean, that's what's happened since the 1850s with our country. And you can see it in the sports. You can see it in a lot of examples. You can see it in, I mean, look at music, for example. You know, I use hip-hop because, of course, that's what I know. I'm sorry. You know, when hip-hop first came out, it was like the 80s, right? It was sort of like funky, like they were sampling a lot of disco songs. They were sampling a lot of blues. So it had more of a familiar sort of, you know, dance, like you can move your body to it tune because that's the types of songs that they sampled. Hip-hop. They're fusing. The whole genesis of hip-hop is fusing together two dance tracks, essentially, to metamorphosize it into a new thing by you know, you're basically like fusing them together. And it was like an art, like, oh, well, we can create this whole new sound by taking bits and pieces from other songs and making it into a new thing. And I know a lot of non-hip-hop fans don't like sampling, but I'm explaining what the genesis of it is and what the concept behind it was. Because before it was commercialized, it was just about throwing a block party and mixing two records together for the party. It wasn't about selling CDs and doing that shit. So that's where that culture originally stemmed from. So you basically get that with the 80s, where it wasn't gangster yet until the NWA showed up. It was like wholesome, kind of. It was almost wholesome in a way. It was just more like it was more like poetry over a looped version of your favorite 70s and 80s or 60s, 70s, and 80s songs. And then they started to, you know, as time goes on, new people come in and new things get tried, and some people are going to be edgy and some people are not going to be edgy. Some people are going to act like gatekeepers. Some people are going to want to, you know, push in the face of authority. So the progression to, you know, hip-hop was already kind of a hyper-aggressive music, and then it led to gangster rap. But then it started to lead to more like localized forms of like their version of gangster rap. And after that, it started to really become like, it's almost like the mainstream music industry figured out the lowest common denominator sound for rap, and they started to just overdo that. We know, like, listen, this is what I mean, though. I know someone like JTR or anybody else in my chat, really. The amount of times you'll see a movie coming out, or a video game coming out, or a TV show coming out, or a commercial, or anything really, and they're playing like that fucking garbage mumble rap music. Literally nobody's asking for that. Nobody's asking for that. But those music labels, they can put out whatever they fucking want because they just slap their fucking label on it and tell people that we're the standard, and people will go, okay, I guess you're the standard. And I get it. A lot of this is that the people are stupid. But they're also kind of stupid because we keep letting them get manipulated. Like for the past 100 years, all the government and their big business cohorts have been doing is working around the system to try to manipulate the population and take advantage of their wealth. And that's what they've been doing by making the middle class smaller and smaller, giving those kickbacks to the low class people. All that's going to do is get the middle class angry at the lower class people. Now they're not looking at the real enemy. Yeah, but that's why I can't get into soccer, bro. I can't, because I don't know. Maybe it's not capitalistic slop enough for me. Maybe it's too European-y, commie social-ish. I don't fucking know. But that's why I can't get into soccer. I don't know where to fucking start. What retro soccer game should I play for my retro streams? I will let JTR select who I use and what, because I don't know. Like, I shouldn't play as Team USA because it's going to be a learning curve. I'm not going to be good. I'm probably going to lose. I'm going to get frustrated. So I want to play as like a decent team, but I don't want to play as like the best team. I don't even know. Am I going to do like the regional league? Am I going to do like the World Cup? I should probably just do like the World Cup. I should do like a World Cup randomizer, I think. That's what I think I should do. I should just play a World Cup. There, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a World Cup. Well, good talk, gang. I'm glad we figured this one out.